So we discussed the Expanse a lot on this channel, but we're mostly focused on the big governments of the Expanse, the Martian Congressional Republic and the United Nations, and occasionally we touch on the OPA, but I figured today we could take a closer look at a sort of faction that's slipped under the radar. Let's take a closer look at the Protogen Corporation and the role it played within the system. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So many of us are probably at least passingly familiar with the Protogen Corporation and the role they played in the first few seasons of The Expanse. The dastardly corporation that's trying to sort of orchestrate a shadow war between the United Nations and the Martian Congressional Republic. However, I figured today we could take a deeper dive into them and try to figure out exactly what they were doing before the events of the TV show and sort of how they operate. So let's just start at the beginning with the basics. The Protogen Corporation, on paper, is technically a research organization, tasked with research and development of various technologies across the system. As such, they operate several different facilities, most of which are laboratories, on various different stations and celestial bodies across the solar system. This includes a major research station on Phoebe, as well as facilities on Luna, Io, Thoth Station, Osiris Station, Ganymede, and Eros. However, their most significant laboratories were the ones on Phoebe, which is where their most significant work took place. About 8 years before the events of the show, a mining operation on Mars uncovered a mysterious substance, which ultimately turned out to be the protomolecule, and it was handed over by the Martian government to the Protogen Corporation for research on behalf of the Martian government. They took it off to Phoebe, where they began extensive research programs on this material. In the meantime, in between the discovery of the protomolecule and the events of the TV show, the Protogen Corporation ordered from the Bush shipyards over Luna the construction of a small fleet of warships. These would be the legendary Amun-Ra class stealth ships. Now, it does make perfect sense that a corporation like Protogen would have easy access to stealth composites. After all, they were likely carrying out defense projects for several different major governments across the system, but most notably Mars, since they seem to have a pretty close sort of relationship with the Martian government. Now, as many of us know from the events of the TV show, that when things start going down and the OPA starts sniffing around about the protomolecule, the Amun-Ra class stealth ships start shooting at things, and it sort of blows up into this much larger affair. But those events raise more questions than answers when it comes to what the Protogen Corporation actually does. Because we obviously see them researching the protomolecule and operating these warships, but we also see them during the Eros incident get directly involved on the ground, which suggests that they have a fairly large military force under their command. That leads me to believe that a sort of private military corporation may also be under the sort of umbrella of the roles that this company fills. And as many of us are well aware of, their experimentation involving the protomolecule was often less than ethical, and they would often go to great lengths to cover it up, including bringing Earth and Mars into direct confrontation with one another. This ultimately led to the UN-MCR war that concluded with not only the arrest of the CEO of the Protogen Corporation, but the downfall of the company as a whole, facing backlash from the international community after the role they played in leading Earth and Mars into a very devastating military conflict. However, at that point, the Protogen Corporation's role in history was already set in stone. They had already led Earth and Mars to war. They had already done everything they could to protect their discovery of the protomolecule, and ultimately still failed to keep it under wraps. By the time the corporation stopped existing, it was in the hands of at least 3 different factions. Their secret bioweapon had ended up being released on Eros and creating a major incident that nearly resulted in the death of all life on Earth. For all of this, what did they have to show? Well, their company ceasing to exist. All in all, we could say that if you look at all of the factions within the Expanse, the one that loses the most and ultimately comes out worst for all of this is the Protogen Corporation, who ultimately ends up losing their entire fleet of stealth ships and their very existence at all. But those stealth ships are still one of their most impressive achievements. They built a small navy of some of the most advanced warships the system has ever seen. These warships were able to take down a mighty Doniger-class battleship, something thought to be impossible until Protogen did it. And if you'd like to learn more about these Amun-Ra class stealth ships, these really impressive scientific marvels, I'll leave a link up here to my video all about the Amun-Ra. And I want you to let me know down in the comments whether you think the Protogen Corporation really deserves all the flack it gets. Do you think they were really trying to mastermind Earth and Mars into a situation that would lead to a war for some reason? Or do you think they were just trying to protect their research and were willing to go way too far to do it and ultimately did end up leading to a war? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover from The Expanse, leave it down below in the comments as well. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.